Ever wake up feeling like you're just running on empty, even after what felt like a full night?
Oh, yeah.
That heavy, sluggish feeling where your brain just won't quite click into gear and focusing feels, I don't know, like trying to catch smoke.
Absolutely. So many people feel that way.
You are definitely not alone if you do. We often think of sleep as just switching off, a passive break. But what if it's actually one of the most active, important things your body does? Way more than just resting your eyes.
That's exactly it.
And, in our modern world, getting enough good sleep feels harder and harder. It's almost like an epidemic.
It really is.
I saw this survey, I think from 2019, a global one, that said something like 62% of adults feel they don't get enough sleep.
Wow, that high.
Yeah, 62%.
Yeah.
Think about that. Nearly 2/3 of us are just dragging ourselves through the day.
That's staggering.
And the numbers, over time, they tell a story too. Back in the 19th century, people apparently got around 9 hours a night.
9 hours, imagine.
Right. And today, on weekdays, it's crashed down to just 6.8 hours on average. Modern life just seems built to mess with our sleep.
It really does. And that's exactly why we wanted to talk about this today. We need to get past just thinking, oh, I need more hours, and really dig into the science of quality sleep.
Okay.
Understand what incredible things your brain and body are actually doing while you're out cold.
Right.
And how that connects directly to, well, everything, brain power, physical health, how you feel day to day. We've got some pretty surprising stuff, and importantly, real things you can actually do.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's unpack this then. So it sounds like our brains aren't just off. What is happening up there when we close our eyes?
Yeah, it's definitely not lights out. Your brain is incredibly busy cycling through two main types of sleep: non-rapid eye movement, or NREM, and rapid eye movement, REM.
NREM and REM, okay.
So NREM makes up most of your sleep, maybe around 80%. Think of this as the sort of cold phase. It's maintenance time, deep cleaning.
Deep cleaning, like for the brain.
Exactly. There's this amazing system called the glymphatic system. It really kicks into high gear during deep NREM sleep.
Lymphatic, okay.
It's basically your brain's waste disposal system. It uses cerebrospinal fluid to wash out all the metabolic junk that builds up during the day.
Wow.
Stuff like beta amyloid and tau protein, the thing is strongly linked to Alzheimer's disease.
So sleep literally washes your brain.
In a way, yeah, a nightly rinse cycle. And NREM is also crucial for memory. It's when the temporary memories you made during the day get shifted from short-term holding to more permanent storage.
Ah, so that's why sleep helps you learn and remember things.
Precisely. Critical for learning and retention.
Okay, so NREM is the cleaner and the archivist.
Yeah.
What about REM, the other 20%? That's the dreaming part, right?
It's the famous one, yeah. REM is the hot phase. Your eyes move around quickly under your eyelids, and your dreams can be really vivid, sometimes bizarre. But what's fascinating is that during REM, your body is essentially paralyzed. Your brain sends signals to stop your muscles moving. Well, it's a good thing. It stops you from physically acting out your dreams. Imagine chasing that monster or flying through the air for real.
Ah, good point. Okay,
Yeah.
so besides dreaming and paralysis, what's REM for?
It's really important for emotional processing. It helps to sort of dial down the emotional charge of difficult memories.
Dial down the charge.
Yeah, so you can remember an upsetting event without necessarily reliving the intense negative feeling associated with it. It helps you process things.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's also thought to be really important for creativity. The logical parts of your brain are less dominant, so you can make these unusual connections. Lots of people wake up with solutions to problems after a good night of REM.
Okay, this is getting really interesting for how we actually function day to day. Why is it so important to complete full sleep cycles? You hear about those, like 90 minutes long. Can't we just add up the hours?
That's a great question. It really is about the quality you get from completing those cycles. Think about baking something, like a cake. You need it to go through all the stages in the oven, right? If you pull it out halfway through...
It's a gooey mess.
Exactly. An incomplete sleep cycle leaves you feeling kind of half-baked, too. Your brain hasn't finished all its jobs for that cycle, the cleaning, the memory work, the emotional processing.
So that's why sometimes you sleep for ages but still feel awful.
That could definitely be part of it. Ideally, you want to wake up naturally at the end of a sleep cycle. That's when you feel most refreshed.
Right, not ripped out of it by an alarm clock.
Precisely. An alarm clock doesn't care what stage of sleep you're in. If it yanks you out of deep NREM or REM, you get that horrible groggy feeling. It's called sleep inertia, like a sleep hangover.
Sleep hangover. I've definitely had those.
We all have. That's why, honestly, setting an alarm to remind you to start winding down for bed might be more useful than relying solely on one to wake you up abruptly.
That's a really good way to think about it.
Right.
Okay, so we know sleep cycles are important, but let's talk about the stakes. We hear sleep is important all the time, but what actually happens when we consistently don't get enough? What's the real cost?
The cost is, well, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's profound, honestly, and sometimes even devastating. And it doesn't take dramatic deprivation. Even losing small amounts consistently can wreak havoc.
Havoc how? Like physically?
Let's start there. Physical health. This is pretty shocking.
Yeah.
Some research suggests people sleeping less than 4 hours a night might have up to a 40% increased risk of developing cancer.
40%. Just from lack of sleep.
It's a correlation, but a strong one. And here's a mechanism.
Yeah.
Just one night with only 4 hours of sleep can reduce your natural killer cells. These are critical immune cells that patrol and destroy cancer cells by 70%.
70% in one night. Wow.
70%. It just shows how deeply sleep is tied into our body's fundamental defense systems.
Okay, that's incredibly sobering. What about just like catching a cold, our everyday immunity?
That takes a massive hit, too. There was a study where they deliberately exposed people to a flu virus.
Okay.
The people who were sleep-deprived beforehand, 50% of them actually caught the flu. Compare that to only 18% of those who had gotten good sleep.
So you're way more likely to get sick if you're tired.
Way more likely. Your immune system is just compromised. And then there's metabolism and weight. This one's fascinating.
Oh, yeah. How does sleep affect weight?
Forget willpower for a second. Sleep deprivation actually changes your hormones that control hunger. Leptin, the hormone that says I'm full, goes down.
Okay.
And ghrelin, the hormone that screams I'm hungry, goes way up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so your body is basically being tricked into thinking it's starving. You feel hungrier, about 26% hungrier on average.
26%? That's a lot.
It is. And what do you crave when you're tired and starving?
Oh, carbs,
Yeah.
sugar, salty stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely not salad.
Exactly. Heavy carbs, sugary foods, salty snacks. Your brain's pleasure centers light up, while the parts responsible for impulse control kind of shut down. It leads to what scientists call hedonic eating. Eating for pleasure, not actual need. People tend to eat 300, 400 extra calories a day when underslept.
Wow. Okay, so poor sleep makes you hungrier, crave junk, and less able to resist it. That's a triple whammy.
It really is, and it doesn't stop there. Irregular sleep patterns are also linked to a higher risk of heart disease. Poor sleep messes with blood sugar control, increasing diabetes risk.
And what about the brain itself, long term? You mentioned Alzheimer's earlier.
Yes, the connection to dementia and cognitive decline, particularly Alzheimer's, is becoming much clearer. It links right back to that lymphatic system, the brain's cleaning crew.
If it's not working properly because you're not getting enough deep sleep.
Then those toxic proteins, beta amyloid and tau, don't get cleared out efficiently. They accumulate. It's quite striking, though obviously not definitive proof, that figures like Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, both famous for getting very little sleep, later developed Alzheimer's.
That's
yeah.
quite a thought.
It really makes you think about the long-term consequences.
Okay, so the physical toll is immense. What about mentally and emotionally? That feels like it would just cascade through your whole life.
Absolutely. The impact is immediate and far-reaching. Poor sleep makes you irritable, obviously, but it also genuinely impairs your decision-making skills.
How so?
You're less able to weigh risks and rewards properly. Your judgment is just off. It also reduces empathy. You find it harder to read other people's emotions accurately, and you become more focused on your own discomforts, like pain sensitivity increases.
Less empathy. That affects relationships, work, everything.
Totally. And it directly impacts mood. Anxiety often spikes that horrible, tired but wired feeling.
Ugh, yes. Know it well.
That's often linked to poor sleep. It can significantly worsen existing mental health conditions like depression or anxiety disorders. Tragically, it's even been identified as a precursor, a risk factor, for suicidal thoughts and completion. Sleep is just foundational.
It really sounds like it underlies almost everything else.
Okay.
Given how devastating these effects are, it's clear something about modern life is just fundamentally messing up our sleep. What are the biggest culprits we should be looking out for?
You're right. Modern life throws a lot of obstacles in the way of good sleep. One big one is actually societal pressure, particularly in the workplace.
How do you mean?
There's often this sleep machismo culture, right? Especially in some business circles, where pulling all-nighters or surviving on minimal sleep is seen as a badge of honor.
Right.
Like it means you're more dedicated or productive.
Yeah, that I'll sleep when I'm dead attitude.
Exactly. But the data shows the complete opposite. Insufficient sleep costs economies billions. I think the U.S. loses something like $411 billion in profit annually because of tired workers.
400 billion.
Yeah. Productivity goes down, mistakes go up. It's just bad business. Interestingly, NASA figured this out way back in the 80s. They encouraged NASA naps for astronauts.
Naps in space.
Well, naps for astronauts, yeah. They found even short naps boosted task performance by over 30% and alertness by 50%. Investing in rest actually pays off.
That's a powerful counterargument to that hustle culture. Okay, besides work culture, what about the stuff right in our hands? Technology.
Technology. Our glowing rectangles are a double-edged sword, aren't they? First, there's the obvious thing. They're designed to capture our attention.
Definitely. Endlessly scrollable.
Right. They stimulate your brain, keeping it active when it should be winding down. This leads to what some call sleep procrastination. You know you're tired, but you just keep scrolling or watching one more video.
Guilty as charged.
We all are sometimes. But beyond just keeping you awake, there's the type of light they emit. Blue light.
Yes. Blue light. We hear about that.
That blue light is particularly potent at tricking your brain. It suppresses the release of melatonin, that's the hormone that signals nighttime to your body, sometimes called the vampire hormone.
Vampire hormone, I like that.
So, screen time, especially in the evening, can delay your melatonin release by like 90 minutes, maybe even 2 hours. Your brain thinks it's still daytime.
So it pushes your whole sleep schedule back.
Exactly. And it tends to reduce your total amount of sleep and specifically eats into your REM sleep.
Any tips for dealing with the phone issue? Besides just not using it?
Well, the ideal is to keep it out of the bedroom altogether. But if you feel you must have it in there, maybe for an alarm, try the phone standing up rule.
Standing up rule?
Yeah, you're only allowed to use your phone while you're physically standing up. As soon as you want to sit or lie down, you have to put the phone away, probably on a charger across the room. It creates a natural disincentive.
Huh. That's clever. I might actually try that. Okay, what about caffeine? The morning ritual for millions.
Caffeine, our beloved stimulant. So how it works is it basically blocks the receptors in your brain for a chemical called adenosine. Adenosine builds up throughout the day and creates sleep pressure, that feeling of getting tired.
So caffeine puts a roadblock in front of the tired signal.
Exactly. It's like hitting the mute button on sleepiness. But the adenosine doesn't go away. It keeps building up behind that roadblock.
Hence the caffeine crash later.
Precisely. When the caffeine wears off, all that accumulated adenosine hits you at once. Caffeine also tends to increase anxiety and can trigger racing thoughts or rumination, which is terrible for falling asleep.
Okay.
But here's the really crucial bit. Even if you think you sleep fine after having caffeine, it significantly impacts your sleep quality. It's known to strip away deep NREM sleep, sometimes by 15 to 30%.
30% less deep sleep.
Yeah. That kind of reduction is comparable to the effects of aging, maybe like adding 40 years to your brain's sleep architecture just from having caffeine too late in the day.
Wow. Okay, so even if I fall asleep, the sleep isn't as good.
Exactly. The restorative quality is compromised. It's worth noting, coffee itself has health benefits, mostly from antioxidants, but the caffeine specifically is problematic for sleep.
Good distinction. All right, last common culprit, alcohol. Lots of people have a drink to relax before bed. Nightcap, right?
The nightcap. It's
Right.
one of the most misunderstood sleep aids out there. Yes, alcohol is a sedative. It can make you feel drowsy and help you fall asleep initially.
There's always a but.
Big but. It doesn't lead to good quality sleep. Alcohol actually fragments your sleep throughout the night.
Yeah.
You have lots of these tiny awakenings that you might not even remember, but they break up the cycles.
So it's choppy sleep.
Very choppy. And crucially, it powerfully suppresses REM sleep, especially in the second half of the night. So you miss out on that vital emotional processing and memory consolidation stage. It knocks you out, but it's not restorative rest.
Okay, that's a lot of things working against us. But it's also really empowering to know what they are. So let's flip this. What can we actively do? What are the practical, science-backed steps we can take starting tonight to get better sleep?
Absolutely. There's so much we can control, and these things really add up. Probably the single most important tip, the foundation, is regularity.
Regularity, meaning same bedtime.
Same bedtime and same wake-up time. Every single day. Yes, even on weekends as much as possible.
Oof, weekends too.
I know, it's tough. But your brain, your whole circadian rhythm thrives on that consistency. It learns when to expect sleep, and when to expect wakefulness. Like I mentioned, maybe try setting an alarm for bedtime, a signal to start winding down rather than just the morning jolt.
Train your body clock. Okay, that makes sense. What about the bedroom itself?
Your bedroom needs to be a haven for sleep. 3 key things: dark, cool, and quiet.
Dark, cool, quiet.
For darkness, start dimming the lights in your house about an hour before bed, maybe half the lights, or even 3/4. Signal to your brain that night is falling. Use blackout curtains if you need to. Make it like a cave.
A cave. Got it.
Then temperature. This is a big one people underestimate. Your core body temperature needs to drop by a couple of degrees to initiate and maintain sleep. So aim for a cool room around 18.5 degrees Celsius, which is about 65 to 68 Fahrenheit.
Cooler than most people probably keep it.
Probably. It's always easier to warm up with blankets than to try and sleep when you're too hot. Cool is key.
Okay, dark and cool. What about things we do during the day? Exercise, food.
Yes, exercise is great for sleep, but timing can matter. Regular physical activity, especially aerobic exercise, generally improves sleep quality. The sweet spot seems to be finishing your workout maybe 4 to 8 hours before bed.
Not right before bed then.
Probably not intense exercise, no. Working out hard, less than, say, 3 or 4 hours before sleep can raise your core body temperature and alertness levels, making it harder to wind down. Light evening activity might be okay for some, but generally, earlier is better.
Okay. And food. Any dietary tips?
Definitely. Try to stop eating and snacking at least 3 hours before bedtime. Gives your digestion time to work, prevents heartburn.
3 hours. Okay.
In terms of what to eat, generally avoiding heavy meals, lots of saturated fat, or tons of refined carbs close to bed is wise. Some foods might actually help, though.
Oh, like what?
Things like fatty fish, dairy, kiwi fruit, tart cherries. These contain nutrients or compounds that can support melatonin production or relaxation. Fiber-rich foods like beans and oatmeal are good too, as are proteins rich in tryptophan, like turkey or chicken.
The Thanksgiving effect.
Sort of, yeah. And overall, healthy patterns like a Mediterranean diet are consistently linked with better sleep. Also think about chrononutrition, basically, eating more of your calories earlier in the day and keeping meal times consistent.
Chrononutrition.
Yeah.
Okay. Eating earlier consistently. Got it. What about when your mind is just racing? Lying there thinking about everything.
Ah, the racing mind. This is where meditation and mindfulness can be incredibly powerful.
How does that help with sleep specifically?
It helps calm the nervous system. Practices like focusing on your breath, doing a body scan, or listening to a guided meditation can reduce those ruminative thoughts, lower your heart rate and blood pressure, and actually increase sleep-promoting hormones like melatonin and serotonin. It trains your brain to switch off the alert mode.
What if you wake up in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep? Just lie there.
No. That's usually counterproductive. If you're awake for more than, say, 20-30 minutes, get out of bed.
Really? Get out.
Yeah. Go to another dimly lit room, do something relaxing, read a boring book, listen to a calm podcast, meditate again. Don't turn on bright lights or screens. Only go back to bed when you feel sleepy again. You want to keep associating your bed with sleep, not frustration.
That's good advice. Break the cycle of lying there getting annoyed.
Exactly. And instead of counting sheep, which research shows isn't very effective because it's too monotonous but requires some mental effort,
Right.
try a mental walk. Visualize a very familiar route walking through your house, a path you know well in extreme detail. What do you see, smell, hear? It occupies your mind in a less taxing way.
A mental walk. I
Okay.
like that. Any other quick tips?
A few more practical things. A hot bath or shower an hour or two before bed can help. It raises your body temperature, and the subsequent drop when you get out signals sleepiness.
Ah, interesting.
Wear comfortable, loose clothing, maybe some light stretching or mindful breathing like pranayama. Another trick. Before you even get into bed, take 2 minutes to mentally review your day. Maybe jot down anything worrying you or task for tomorrow. Get it out of your head.
Kind of like closing the mental tags.
Exactly. And maybe consider your sleep position. There's emerging research, mostly animal studies still, suggesting sleeping on your side, maybe particularly the left side, might help that glymphatic brain cleaning process work more efficiently.
Side sleeping for brain cleaning. Huh. Worth trying.
Worth being aware of, certainly. More human data is needed. And finally, magnesium. It's a mineral involved in hundreds of body processes, including regulating neurotransmitters for relaxation and melatonin production. Some people find supplementing helpful, especially forms like magnesium L-threonate, which crosses the blood-brain barrier well. But check with a doctor first, of course.
Okay, wow. That's a ton of actionable advice. It really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? Sleep isn't just this passive thing that happens to us.
Not at all.
It feels more like this incredibly powerful process we can actively support and optimize. So thinking about all this, what does it really mean for you listening right now? It's clear sleep isn't just a break. It's like the foundation, the power-up for everything else.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's the power-up. It underpins your physical health, your mental clarity, your emotional stability, your productivity. It's not something you sacrifice for success. It's what enables success and well-being. And like we've discussed, there isn't one single magic pill. But consistently paying attention to these principles, regularity, light, temperature, winding down, managing stress, can have a massive positive impact on literally every part of your life. It really is like that Archimedes lever, you know, the point that lifts everything else.
I love that analogy, the Archimedes lever. So maybe the challenge for all of us is to stop seeing sleep as this luxury we can cut back on or this annoying necessity that gets in the way. What if we started treating it as like our most potent daily act of self-care and self-optimization? This amazing natural resource we all have access to, just waiting for us to tap into it properly.
Couldn't agree more. It's right there every night.
So the question for you is, what's one small change you might make, maybe even starting tonight, to begin unlocking that incredible potential of sleep?